Hello everyone, and welcome to the clickbait title. Today we'll be talking about the only real movies in the entire MCU, and their only real character, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and
Raccoon.
The MCU has been running since 2008, and it's never been in a better place. Sometimes it's fun to start a video with a lie. Okay guys, I'm sorry to be the first to tell you, but the MCU hasn't been doing so well. First we had Eternals, which killed the MCU. Then we had Spider-Man, which saved the... Okay, never mind, people don't like that one anymore. Thor Love and Thunder, dead again. She-Hulk Attorney at Law, even deader. Ah, man, I'm so angry about Megan Thee Stallion throwing ass on screen. Ah, man, that makes me so mad. But what's been keeping the MCU going since 2014 with, like, some other stuff, I guess, is the only real trilogy in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in film in general. Okay, maybe that's a little extreme, but through their trilogy, the Guardians of the Galaxy somehow became the strongest part of this entire cinematic project. And the strongest part of that trilogy, even more insanely, ended up being a hyper-intelligent CGI raccoon, played by the guy most famous for being one of the guys in The Hangover. The Guardians of the Galaxy are truly a marvel... See what I did there? A detective comics of what you can do in a medium like this if you have the right people, a solid vision, and millions upon millions of dollars procured by shaving off slices of Walt's frozen head for cannibal billionaires. So today we will not just be talking about why Rocket Raccoon is the best MCU character, we will also be talking about why the Guardians of the Galaxy are the best thing that will ever come out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You're immortal! How?
You said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
God, I don't even know where to start. The beginning would be good though, I guess. Guardians of the Galaxy, the zany space-bound action-adventure series, starts with Peter Quill in a hospital in Missouri. It's very humble. I like it. This is where we get the first bitter taste of James Gunn's cursed heartstring technique. If there's one thing every single Guardians film is gonna make me do, it's sob like a fucking baby. From minute one, this movie's got me right where it wants me. Fooled Around and Fell in Love is on the soundtrack, and that's exactly how I'm feeling. Pretty quickly, we're meeting adult Peter out in space on the now actually kinda iconic orb pondering mission. And now, while I love all three of these movies, I actually have kind of a hot take, besides all the other takes I'll be oven baking. This is the worst Guardians movie. The first and second acts are great. James Gunn really knows how to write an ensemble, and the acts where we meet all our characters and they interact for the first time is typically the easiest to write in a film like this anyways. It's figuring out what to do after that most ensemble movies, and this one just a little bit, struggles to do. Ronan the Accuser is the worst villain out of all three of these movies, and it's not even close. It's actually hilariously not close, but it does have the best soundtrack, and gets points for introducing 14-year-old Shane to the character he would briefly base his entire personality on.
What is this thing? Look how it thinks it's so cool. It's not cool to get help. Walk by yourself, you little gargoyle.
God, I love him. Guardians 1 is still a phenomenal blockbuster. The slower and more deliberate character work I adore 2 and 3-4 wouldn't exist without the brevity of 1. One of my biggest issues with Guardians 1, though, unsurprisingly, is how mistreated Rocket is in the third act. I mean, it pales in comparison to the general amount of mistreatment he's had, but still. 1 is like a mathematically perfect blockbuster, but 2 and 3 have a Peter Quill level of confidence in their characters, and that's what makes it the best and only real MCU trilogy for me. Now, it's one thing if you just don't like the Guardians. They're not exactly everyone's cup of tea. Some people think they can be a little juvenile.
I have famously huge turds.
We're about to die, and this is what we're discussing?
But hear me out. The Guardians are juvenile, a bunch of goobers, just doing odd jobs around the galaxy. They're not the NATO-funded Avengers. They actually get the chance to not only make mistakes, but to be genuinely unlikable at times. Tony Stark only had to have a drinking problem for like 30 seconds before they made up a sci-fi reason for him to have flaws. Iron Man 2's depiction of Demon in a Bottle is outclassed in impact and acting, not only by Peter's drunken misery, which opens Guardians 3 and almost gets Rocket killed, but was already beaten out by my favorite scene in Guardians 1.
Keep calling me vermin, tough guy. You just want to laugh at me like everyone else.
Rocket, you're drunk, all right? No one's laughing at you.
He thinks I'm some stupid thing. He does. Well, I didn't ask to get made. I didn't ask to be torn apart and put back together over and over and turned into some little monster.
The breakup scene of Guardians 1 may be an expected beat of the plot, but I really enjoy the performances, and Drax doing a drunk booty call, but for a fight, is amazing. But let's compare this to Tony Stark again, cause I'm an Iron hater. You could even call me a hammerhead. Tony gets to be a bit of an asshole, blasting champagne bottles and flirting with chicks, but I mean, to be frank, that sounds awesome. You know what's not awesome? Having a dead wife and kids. Being a cyber-modified rodent with a seriously shitty attitude.
Hope Daddy isn't as big of a dick as you, orphan boy.
The Guardians are full of little, horribly realistic moments like this. Drax and Mantis have one of my favorite friendships in the series, and on the high evolutionary ship, she unwittingly hurts his feelings, then uses her powers to make him just as unaware. Just like how everyone is practically unaware to the pain that Drax always carries. Except for Mantis.
Oh, that's good. Call me that from now on. Mantis.
The characters in this character-driven story are really what make it special. God, I am overwhelmingly intelligent. It's not just the original Guardians either. Nebula, the meanest woman in the galaxy, ends up being one of my favorite members of this family, which I would have never guessed when she ripped off her own hand to Spider-Sister. God, she's so cool. Their complicated sisterhood and her almost genre-breaking amount of rage towards her father is amazing, and it helps that they're just both beautiful women of color. The Sovereign are fun villains in Volume 2, but Will Poulter as baby boy Adam Warlock in Volume 3 is one of the funniest performances in the entire MCU, somehow overcoming his freakish, disgusting eyebrows. And he has a fantastic amount of raw power for a space-bound Marvel adventure. He could probably personally Swiss cheese the real Earth, so luckily he's on the counter-Earth, baby. The side antagonists in this series are also surprisingly compelling. Frankly, they're better written than most of the main antagonists in the MCU. But there's no better example of the incredible side antagonist character writing of this series than the blue bitch himself.
I know who you are, boy, because you're me.
The Guardians of the Galaxy could be about a lot of things, as could any movie trilogy with a heretofore unmentioned holiday special. But I think the message that sticks out to me the most is the importance of forgiving yourself and beating up your dad. Yondu and Rocket's relationship in Volume 2 is maybe the most perfect example of what I love about these films, especially as a trilogy. Because in this movie by itself, man, this is a real tearjerker. Michael Rooker is one of the many moons in the James Gunn orbit, and I couldn't be happier, because he's one of my favorite actors working today. The way he presents the guilt of Yondu over his dealings with Ego leaves me wondering whether or not he did always know, which I think is fantastic. Rocket, on the other hand, is not only a Detective Comics of visual effects from Framestore, so much so that I am considering going on a heist into Marvel Studios to rescue this real raccoon, because that is not a computer, I won't accept it. But Bradley Cooper delivers one of my favorite performances in the MCU, and one that I genuinely think is one of the most impressive. Acting is already kinda hard, probably, so it's much harder to do it in a recording booth as a cybernetic raccoon, who they actually made, and do it this well, like, it's unreal. Then you take this wonderfully shot, scored, and acted scene commiserating on shared guilt and self-loathing and put it into the entire trilogy, with Yondu's role in Volume 1 and especially Rocket's overwhelming guilt about the fate of his first family, Floor, Teefs, and Lila in Volume 3, it becomes something all the better.
What kind of a pair are we?
Hello, Mr. Disney. I am very sorry for using so much of your copywritten material, even though it falls under the purview of fair use. Please let me keep my money, and also please let me use your music, thank you. And speaking of the most heartbreaking thing I've ever seen, Rocket's first foray into found family, which leaves them all dead and me wishing I were. Actually, you know what? Moving on. I've already talked a lot about the side antagonists, but it's time to bring out the main courses. And for you, sir? The Ego the Living Planet. Excellent. That's an excellent choice. And for you? The High Evolutionary. Fantastic. Fantastic. That's my favorite. And how about you, sir? Don't get the Ronin the Accuser. Yeah, it sucks. Worst thing on the menu. Kurt Russell as Ego the Living Planet is one of the most inspired castings I've ever seen. His head is already the size of a planet, and he does kinda seem like an egomaniac, honestly. He's incredibly intimidating and equally charismatic, but he's Peter's villain, and this video isn't about Peter, it's about Rocket, kinda. This is a little inside baseball how it's made, but this was originally two different videos. A video about Rocket Raccoon and one about the Guardians trilogy, but we're doing a little surf and turf, ass and grass action and mixing them together. I was inspired, of course, to create this horrible masterpiece by one of the most miraculous minds in the universe, whom whole corners of galaxies call God.
There is no God! That's why I stepped in!
The High Evolutionary. The High Evolutionary, played by Chukwudi Iwuji, is one of the most captivating, manic performances I've ever seen in the MCU. It's so strange and off-putting, dripping with insecurity, and it makes it all the better when Rocket shredding the High Evolutionary's face like newspaper is shocking, and starts his journey as the meanest rodent in the cosmos. It is incredible and heartbreaking. The no sleep till Brooklyn needle drop is also maybe my favorite moment in the entire MCU. I love that Rocket just wants to kick this guy's ass again, but also he would listen to Beastie Boys. He would. But the best part of all of it, meaning the scene, the movie, and life itself, is Rocket finally seeing what he is. A raccoon. Man, I feel so normal about this movie. I have always been an animal lover, so maybe that's why this moment and this movie both strike such a strong chord with me. Or, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm a human being with a soul. Maybe I'm a bit of a woke war hater, but I've never been a fan of Tony Stark's character arc. I don't think it's much of an arc to go from making the world a more dangerous place directly to somewhat indirectly sometimes. And then dying to stop the biggest villain is essentially the comic book character get out of jail free card. I've always liked Captain America more than Iron Man, but you know, he's okay. I wish they could let Sam actually show up as Captain now, and I haven't really cared about Bucky since Civil War. Thor has gotten a little long in the tooth for me, and I'm pretty sure for Chris Hemsworth too. I don't know, I'm just tired. This may ruin my credibility a bit trying to speak on the contemporary side of the MCU, but let's see, since Endgame, I have seen 10 MCU projects of 32. So a big part of why the Guardians and Rocket Raccoon are the best thing to come out of the MCU, in my opinion, is because at this point, I'm barely tuning in. X-Men 97 so far is perhaps the best thing produced by Marvel Studios in the 21st century, period. So while there's never been a worse time to like the main Marvel movies, do I really care that much? People love to say now, well, the MCU is still good if you just watch the stuff you want to watch, which is certainly true. Well, that's always been the case. I guarantee that after checking out Avengers Infinity War, not many people watched Iron Fist Season 2 the following September. I know countless fans love the leading men of Marvel, so much, but I will never be more entertained, engaged, or impressed than I am by Bradley Cooper making me sob as a bitchy rodent, who I guess is fake. So now that I have hopefully farmed some comments from the rage sector of the internet hive mind, it's time to get to my favorite part of every video, where I just completely jack off whatever I'm talking about.
It's a nice day for some woodwhacking.
The progression of Peter's music going from something that personally connects him back to Earth and his mother, to a source of joy for the weird little city of freaks that the Guardians have set up in Nowhere's head, is awesome. Speaking of those weird freaks, I love the Nepo brother Weasel in these movies, and Cosmo going from a fun little Easter egg to an awesome character is just the kind of comic book energy these movies thrive on. I already talked about how much I love the theme of forgiveness in these movies, but I still can't get over how much I love the decision to not only kill 0 of the Guardians, but to have Peter go back to Earth with his grandpa, forgiving himself for running away. Man. I'll also always be impressed by how Gunn handled the Russo brothers killing off and bringing back one of his main characters, because I love Gamora in 3. I really like that Groot fills a different role in every movie he's in. I think it adds a really interesting dynamic to the family, and finally understanding him at the end of the trilogy is perfect. I know we're supposed to see more Guardians, but I really don't care if we do. I'm more than happy with what we've gotten. So I'll just leave you with probably my favorite joke in the series.
We kill anyone who gets in our way.
Not kill anyone.
Kill a few people.
Kill no people.
Kill one guy, one stupid guy who no one loves.
Thank you so much for joining us as always, Jube. Revisiting the Guardians has just been a blast, but that is the video for this week. I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching that video. If you made it to this point, a special double thank you so much. Yeah, rewatching the Guardians videos, or the Guardians movies through this video has been really fun. Oh my god, they're so good. Watching those, I watched all of them with my girlfriend, and watching those, during some points, because I'm way more tapped into the annoying side of, internet fan culture than she is because of this. And during it, I would just, occasionally, look at her and say, some people think James Gunn makes bad movies. And I find that fascinating. But what I've just drawn for my collection this week is I hope y'all have been checking out X-Men 97. Oh my god, it's perfect. I treated myself to this little bobblehead pixelated mojo, from the recent episode with Jubilee and Sunspot, or Jubilee and Roberto, as they're primarily calling him right now. But yeah, this is a mojo from that. I just loved him. I thought he was so funny in that episode. I'll dominate the galaxies and the 18 to 45 age demographic was probably my favorite joke. I also really like I love Mojo. I'm always a sucker for inside jokes at TV and movies and stuff. So I also really liked, there was a Dazzler reference which was really cool. I also really liked right at the end when I'm not gonna get into the whole thing. Go watch X-Men, but right at the end when he's going away and he's like, you may have gotten me this time, but I'll get you in the reboot. I love this little guy. He's fantastic. I just love a mean fella. But, yeah, thank you all so much. I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.